this is for both Mr. Crump and Mr. Kraft. What are your top 3 priorities for improving public services in Amarillo, and how do they align with the concerns of Amarillians?
Well, I mean, we've talked about, the infrastructure issues that, this whole campaign. So as far as priorities, to me, that's one of the most important things. We've neglected our infrastructure in our city for, let's just call it, at least 40 years. And we've got some problems. I think you can look outside as you're driving here today what kind of problems we might have in terms of drainage. Our playa lakes are full. If we get a 3-inch rain today, it's going to be floods. And we're not able to pump the water out of those playa lakes as fast as we're able to pump them out. So infrastructure is a big issue. We've got an aging infrastructure, and then we've also got, number 2 thing would be a preparedness for our city. We're going to be growing tremendously given the number of companies that are coming to town, and that's probably the second priority as far as I'm concerned. And then trust and transparency would be the third.
Top 3 priorities, first and foremost, is public safety. If we don't have a safe community, we don't have anything at all. I'm a big believer in if we can do the small things right, the big things will follow. That's just how my mind is geared. And living and breathing within a public service for the past 10 years, I see what it's going to take to create a safer city for Amarillo. That'd be my first priority in getting those guys what they need, and be sure they're treated treated with respect and not just like a hot commodity. And I think that goes across the board for all city workers. So that kind of leads into the next thing, is that culture, that customer service-based culture, that whenever a citizen calls and they need something done, their trash isn't taken out, that the citizens are going to get that service and they don't have to think twice about it. And lastly, on the top 3 priority list is, last on that priority list is going to be giving the voice back to the citizens of Amarillo. That's what's been lacking, and I'm ready to make that happen.
I know, right? Okay, so we're just going to be doing one last question. This one is on the paper, guys. So just for you guys to close out, because this is going to be the last question for you guys, then we'll bring up place 4. It seems that just from hearing you guys talk, you are both self-labeled conservatives. We want to know, though, why you and not the other candidate in place 1?
All right, brother. I'll remember this one. Yeah. Now, throughout this process, it truly has been a great experience to get and learn all the other candidates and stuff. Get to meet them, and especially get to meet the people. I think if you're going to want somebody that's a true servant leader, that has a decade of experience in public safety and understands the issues that the city's facing right now, and get back to a true customer service-based city, I'm your guy. I'm Josh Kraft. Vote for me.
This has been a wonderful experience. I'm ready for it to be over, but it has been a good experience for all of us, and I've really enjoyed getting to know all the candidates. It's been great. But a vote for me, I believe, is important because of my experience. I am 22 years in the corporate world and 17 years in business for myself with multiple businesses. And I've had a lot of experience with managing people, a lot of experiences with budgets. I have a ton of experience in the community. I'm on the Kids Incorporated board, and been through Leadership Amarillo. So I've spent a lot of time really educating myself about Amarillo, and I love this city, and I think it's important that experience is probably the biggest thing that this commission needs this year. So I think that's vote for me, Dean Crump.
So that concludes our Place 1 forum. I want to thank both of you gentlemen for your comments. I want to thank both of you for coming here this evening and allowing people to get to know you better, to make better informed choices as voters. And we wish you both the best of luck in the election. Now we're going to begin with Place 4. And Nick is going to start it off.
So what is your view on House Bill 2127, specifically Section 102A.001, restricting the city from continuing to pursue a proposition that has been continually challenged and rejected by the taxpayers of that city. And that's going to be for Claudette. Or both of you guys, but Claudette will start.
You'll go first.
You'll go first. Do you need the question? Say it again. Okay. What is your view on House Bill 2127, specifically Section 102A001, restricting the city from continuing to pursue a proposition that has been continually challenged and rejected by the taxpayers of that city?
And really quickly, we have a quick summary, just very, very quick, just for context. House Bill 2127, also known as the Texas Regulatory Consistency Act, is a law that makes sure all of Texas has the same rules and regulations. It stops cities and counties from making their own rules that are different from the state's, especially in areas covered by the state's agriculture, finance, labor, insurance, natural resources, and occupation codes. The goal of this law is to make sure that the state is the only one who can control these things unless a different law state says otherwise. Again, and reflect back on this. What is your view on House Bill 2127, restricting a city from continuing to pursue a proposition that has been continuously challenged and rejected by the taxpayers?
So yes, I am a little bit familiar with House Bill 2127, but not totally. I think that there towards the end it seemed pretty watered down, so I'm not sure how fruitful it will be. But if the voters said no, they said no, period. And that should be the end of it. So I guess I would say that I'm for it. There's a lot of over-regulation going on, and so I don't like that local governments are allowed to kind of create their own rules as they go, if you will. That's not been helpful for us and for business owners here in Amarillo.
Yeah, I'm not really familiar with that bill in depth. I would have to take a look at it and see what the impact on it. I mean, when I hear some of the wording, there's some things that I agree with. I mean, if the taxpayers have rejected that, then the taxpayers have stated so. But I'd have to look into that bill more to be able to render that opinion on and how it, particularly how it affects the city.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to go straight into the next question. It seems with the past council, many citizens felt that their voices was not being heard. What strategies will you use to engage with Amarillians regularly and understand their concerns and ideas? How will this engagement influence your decision-making process?
Actually, I've already begun that because what I have found over the years is people are really busy living their lives. They're taking kids to sports, they're doing their jobs. You know, they don't have time to come to city council meetings. You know, they're doing things. What I've done in this campaign is I've knocked on over 1,000 doors. I've talked to people one-on-one and spent hours and hours talking to hundreds and hundreds of voters. And if you want to find out what voters think, that's the way to do it. You know, I think we ought to have town hall meetings. I think that I'm for the public comment period. But as someone who's representing the community, I want to take more of my time to go out to the community. And that's one of the things that I have enjoyed most about doing this and learn what the citizens are thinking about. And they're thinking about safe community, public safety. They're thinking about let's get our roads paved, let's get our trash picked up, and let's keep our taxes low. That's what they're thinking about. And I know that because I've heard that over and over and over again. And I will continue to do that if elected, is reaching out to voters, making it easy for them, for me to go to them instead of them having to come to me. Thank you.
So yes, I have talked to thousands of people during my campaign, as well as, I guess there's not, can you move it forward? Sorry. Okay, so yes, I have spoken to thousands and thousands of people throughout my campaign, but I have spent the past 7 years talking to several thousands of other residents here in Amarillo, and so it's important that you continue that boots on the ground method after your campaign as well. when you're elected to office. It's important that you have your phone number out there so that citizens can reach you. I've had people contacting me all the time for the past 7 years, but especially since I've been campaigning this time, and especially since we've been having a lot of issues with our drainage and things like that. So it's important that we stay out in the community and we keep that open line of communication with our taxpayers, because it is their money after all. And so it's just very important that we stay in communication, that we keep our doors open and we don't put buzzers to get into our offices. If we're in there, they should be able to come in there and talk to us.
Stay up there. You're first up. Okay, this deals with future vision. What is your vision for the future of Amarillo, and how does it align with the concepts of open government, transparent budgeting, equitable resource distribution, and zero tolerance for corruption?
So I think my vision for the city of Amarillo is a prosperous city, a beautiful city, a city that is clean, roads that are not in disrepair. I think that, could you repeat the second part of the question? I'm sorry.
Yes, I'll just start the whole thing. So what is your vision for the future of Amarillo, and how does it align with the concepts of open government, transparent budgeting, equitable resource distribution, and zero tolerance for corruption?
Yes, so the taxpayers of Amarillo have lost a lot of trust in our city government due to many things that have happened over the years. So it's important that we restore that transparency there at City Hall, and not just for the council meetings, but for everything that happens behind the scenes. I don't know if anyone here has ever made a FOIA request or an open records request to the city. It's impossible, nearly, at least for me anyways, to get documents. And so we've got to keep that transparency open and fulfill those requests. These are your tax dollars that we're spending, and I think that everyone deserves to know how and where every single penny of your tax dollars is spent.
Can you repeat one more time?
Future vision. What is your vision for the future of Amarillo, and how does it align with the concepts of open government, transparent budgeting, equitable resource distribution, and zero tolerance for corruption?
Yeah. Well, my vision for that is really focusing on, we've got to let the community know the problems that the city has. I think for too long we've been glossing over the problems. You know, 65% of our water and sewer lines are between 60 and 90 years old. We have 80% of our water lines are ending their lifespan. I think part of the transparency is we tried to hide these problems that we have. I just found out this past week, and the problem is, I don't even think the city manager knew for a long time, but we were fined because our wastewater treatment plant was not functioning properly and was an environmental hazard. And talk about transparent to the community, top management in the city did not know that. So if we're going to be transparent for the community, we need to make sure that our city staff is transparent as well, and that our city manager is made aware of what things are going on. So we as a council can do it, and so we can let the community know the problems and challenges that we have. I'll stay up, yes.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Simpson. Regarding underserved areas, Amarillo, like any city, has areas that are underserved in terms of infrastructure, resources, and public services. What is your plan to address the disparities and ensure equitable distribution of city resources to these areas?
Yeah, I think that question really aligns with one of the key points of my platform, which is focusing on the fundamentals. I mentioned just a minute ago the state of our infrastructure. That is one of the areas, the north side of Amarillo, the reason why it's not developed over time is it doesn't have adequate infrastructure. Now, I know we're putting in the new lift station, which should help in that area. But if you're looking at that, number one is looking at infrastructure. But number two, which really should be number one, it's public safety. I live in Olson. I live south of I-40. I participated in the police academy. I rode along in those north side neighborhoods. And I'm telling you, no business or residential area is going to move into that area unless we make it safe. And we've got to make 100% commitment to be able to fund law enforcement at a proper level so all the people of our community can be safe. And I think those two things going to do wonders for all areas of the community. Thank you.
So I think that there has been a disparity in how we have distributed our funds across the city, but I think it's mainly because there have been some certain special projects that have had most of the focus of our funds for a very long time. And so it's important that we really scrutinize that budget and cut out the wasteful spending and get out of the retail business, the hotel business, and the real estate business and get back to the basics. If we do that, that's going to be a game changer for our city in general. Could you repeat the question again? I'm sorry, I lost track.
Regarding underserved areas, Amarillo, like any city, has areas that are underserved in terms of infrastructure, resources.
Okay, I think I remember
Okay.
the rest. Okay, and so the other issue that we're dealing with is the relationship that we have with our developers and our builders. We don't have a relationship with them. We're not working with them well. Growth can pay for growth. And so in order for us to grow, we have to be able to work with our builders and our developers to make that happen. And right now we're not doing that. So we need to help get them the streets and the roads and the infrastructure that they need in order to develop those areas. And then we might actually see some growth in those underserved areas if we participate in that.